Morning, this is Signal Mountain, and I'm going to break here to talk some anime.
The second Patlabor movie.
Patlabor 2, the movie, is a mystery thriller sci-fi anime set in the future world imagined in the earlier Patlabor manga and video. In that future world, heavy robots called labors are being used for construction projects. The Tokyo police has created a special vehicles division with a few patrol labors of their own to deal with the specialized crime either caused by labors or which can be solved by using labors. The original Patlabor stories, the manga, OVA, TV show, and movie used a large ensemble cast centered around this special vehicles division. If you haven't seen any of those Patlabor earlier videos, the Patlabor 2 movie probably isn't the right place to start. While the story is self-contained, it depends on your prior knowledge of the characters for much of its enjoyment. This takes us several years into the future from all those earlier stories. Many of the officers from the earlier stories have moved on and retired to new jobs. Captain Goto is one of the characters who hasn't left, and along with Captain Nagumo are still leaving Patlabor units out on the special vehicles division stationed on the landfill. Another returning character is Police Detective Matsui, who's still with the Tokyo Police Force. This mystery thriller stars those three characters, with many of our old favorites from many of the earlier videos dropping to a supporting role. Anticipating our impatience, the movie will give us a quick look at many of those old cast members early on, a sort of where are they now feature. For fans of the Patlabor characters, this is a quick look into the future lives on Noah, Asuma, Oda, Shinji, Yamazaki, and it's a fun piece of nostalgia in itself, and I won't spoil that treat for you. But if you've never seen these characters before, it's kind of a big shrug. Like the previous Patlabor movie, this movie opens with a military combat operation whose relevance to the main story won't become clear till sometime later. The main story gets started with an apparent terrorist attack in Tokyo, that audacious act, and various rumors about who did it and why, and subsequent incidents create a tension among Japan's citizens, press, politicians, police, and military. Paranoia grows. Goto, Nagumo, and Matsui wander way off their assigned beat, unofficially working to try to discover the root cause of these incidents. They'll get a lot of information from a military intelligence officer, Arakawa, who seems to be working outside official channels himself.
There is no plane like this in the Japanese Self-Defense Force.
Tell me something. Why did you come to us instead of going to one of the normal agencies?
You've earned a reputation for courage and intelligence, Captain. I also decided that if the worst comes to the worst, a close relationship with the police would be useful to us.
Captain Nagumo's role will be important for a change, and she has a past relationship with one of the main suspects in these incidents. When Goto needs some help to stop the villains from way off the reservation, he's going to have to turn to his old compatriots from bygone days at SV2. So the old gang will answer the call to deliver the final 20 minutes of the story with a small taste of some mecha action. Once more into the breach. This second movie is from the same headgear tier as the other Patlabor works. Mamoru Oshii directs again, Kazunori Ito wrote the screenplay, Akemi Takada revised her early character designs to make the characters several years older. Yutaku Izubuchi revised the mecha design, supplemented by some new work from Shoji Kawamori, whose credits also include Macross and Ghost in the Shell. Kenji Kawai provides plenty of new music to highlight the tension and mood, with a few thematic references back to the old Patlabor themes of his previous works. The artwork is beautiful. The animation provides a few great action shots, but mostly this is about building tension, not fast action. The movie has some very nicely done tense scenes where plot, script, music, and visuals all come together to create an edge-of-your-seat excitement. It also spends time away from the main characters and telling a wider story than usual.
Wizard 快適予想時刻修正 NEXT 05
Wizard 03 Target position 030 Range 990 Altitude 32
部長快適してもなお応答のない場合は
Patlabor 2 also has a number of very quiet, reflective panoramas, almost like a montage of Tokyo set to Kenji Kawai's music. Director Mamoru Oshii has used real Tokyo man rock in all of his Patlabor videos, but more so here than in previous ones, placing the story firmly in the real world. One of this The movie's weakest part is some overlong discussions set against some pretty backdrops of scenery from Tokyo and some moody music. As with Oshii's later Ghost in the Shell, this philosophical indulgence could really use some tighter writing. There's a lengthy discussion between Goto and Arakawa about false peace and just war that just drags on so long that by the time they finish you can't remember the point. It seems director Oshii likes to drop a rambling screed into his movies now and then. This one left me impatient. If you're a fan of the old Patlabor characters such as Noah, Ota, Asuma, you may not see enough of them here for your liking. This story drops almost all the humor from the earlier Patlabor videos as well, though it carries over our affection from the established characters really well. If you've never seen any Patlabor before, this one really isn't a good introduction. The movie not only assumes you're familiar with these characters, it counts on your interest in them. It loses both coherence and impact if you don't already know this. But this is a smartly plotted and intelligent movie that spends more time exciting you with tense mystery than it does blowing you away with action scenes. It involves fewer of the old Patlabor cast than previous Patlabor videos, though much more so than the next movie. I give this movie 4.5 stars. I found it mostly an exciting story, only slightly marred by a few slow, tedious speechifying scenes. As with the first movie, this one's been dubbed into English twice, first by USMC in the 90s and now by Bandai Visual. If you want an English dub, the Bandai version is much better. USMC's English dub really bugged me. For example, in that scene with air traffic control, on the Japanese soundtrack, the pilots' voices sound muffled like jet pilots wearing oxygen masks in the radio. In the USMC dub, their voices sound like they're in the same room. And even though the original lines and the Japanese soundtrack were in English for the aircraft jargon, they changed that jargon when they translated it, so Angel 3-2 became 32,000 feet. Yeah, that's what it means, but it isn't what pilots say on their radios on either side of the Pacific. That's not translation, it was dumbing down.
Thanks for listening.